With Miller Mott College's online programs, you can choose when you study. Our online programs give you the flexibility to make education work with your schedule. Earn your degree without derailing your life. Visit us online at miller-mott.edu. That's miller-mott.edu.
Welcome to Bite Size Bios. This is meant to be a mini-sode that will accompany HDTH. Every week, I will pick a person from history and dive into their lives. All right, welcome back to another episode of Bite Size Bios, BSB. It is episode 20. We have done 20 episodes now of Bite Size Bios. That is magnificent. This week we are talking about Nyjah Huston, and he is a skateboarder, a very decorated skateboarder, but we will get into that in a little bit. But as normal, for the mini episode, we like to go back a little bit and talk about the previous episode, as well as just any other housekeeping that we need to get off my chest, really, until the next HDTH. So what I was thinking really was, I don't know, the marriage episode, that may be the first clear-cut HDTH that needs a part 2. I've mentioned it in other ones. I mentioned it, I need to want to cover more. But what I realized, and I don't know if this is because of time, but I really didn't look into as deep as I want to the Eastern side of like matrimony and union rituals. I would imagine that there is a large amount of information that's interesting and worth telling. If I was actually to go do it, I guess you did. I went the lazy route. I went the American route and looked up, regular Western marriage and a little bit of that. I dabbled in like the other parts of the world, but I think I will at some point. I will schedule a marriage part 2 for HDTH. But I wanted to mention, I guess, one of my favorite marriage movies, because I think there's movies that I think are about marriage, and then there are movies in which marriage occurs, and it's kind of just almost the backdrop. Like, to me, Meet the Parents is that movie. If you haven't seen that movie, it's hilarious. They turned it into a trilogy. But the first one is actually about, the beginning of the union of these two families. And it's when Ben Stiller's character, I believe his name is Greg Fokker, goes to meet his wife's, or his soon-to-be wife's father, who played by Robert De Niro. I can't remember his name. But he's in the CIA. It's this whole thing. He's like not torturing, but like really like messing with this guy. It's really funny. It's comedy that still does stand up for the most part these days. But yeah, I'm not sure if there's anything more I wanted to mention about Western marriage. I think it was, I do. That's it right here. I wanted to find out where I do came from. I mean, I've been looking, but I don't see, and I guess, I don't know. I mean, we did get where most of the vows come from, the Book of Common Prayer. We did get that, but I don't know. And maybe they mentioned in there. I guess my question is why I do instead of okay, or like I will, or like some. I guess maybe it sounds good. Who knows? But that was something that at the end I wish I could have answered. We still didn't get answered, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't know if there's much more about that. I did want to shout out somebody on the Twitter page who actually responded to the no context history photo of the week. It was I was surprised because I would have never gotten this right. Like this person definitely had the right idea. It was at, I believe it is Cerulean Steam, at CERULEANSTEAM. And they commented on it, and you can go find it. It is a picture of people just dressed up in big, fluffy, or bubbly looking attire that are sitting down to play a band. In a band, it's a black and white photo with a microphone in front of them. And then the question is really, I mean, there is no question, but the question is really like, what's the context? I mean, that's kind of the whole idea behind the no context history photo of the week, is that you look at it and without the context, you're just like, what is going on here? You know what I mean? To me, that's what I find funny when I look at history photos. That's the whole point of it. But they figured it out, and it actually was that back in the day, radio hours were sponsored by certain different brands, and they took a picture of this band who was basically dressed up like little Michelin men because they were sponsored by, I believe it was the Michelin brand. So that was the no context history photo of the week. And once again, shout out to Cerulean Steam. Dope name. I don't know what cerulean is. I know there's a blue that's named after it, but other than that, cerulean. Okay, but yeah, so that's probably all we have to get before we get on to the episode of Bite Size Bios. As always, if you like what you hear, here. You can go over to htthappen.com and find all the extras. I've been a little bit behind these past couple weeks because honestly, there's been something happening with my computer. I know everybody says that, but like I'm not gonna bore you with the extra, but I'm definitely gonna try to get the rest of it up now. But definitely, you can definitely see all the other 60 episodes and 19 other BSBs that are up there, all the episodes and transcripts, the works cited and all that good stuff. And if you like what you hear as well, then definitely give us 5 stars where you listen to this podcast. If you want to give us 2 stars and tell us why you don't want to give us 5 stars, that's fine as well. Constructive criticism is always welcome. I believe that is about it. Let's get into today's episode of BSB. It is Nyjah Huston. Today, we are here to talk about Nyjah Huston. And some of you may not know who he is. Some of you may already be hip to game, but he is, I would say, he's the current Tony Hawk of skateboarding. If you would have had to compare him in some way or give him some sort of label, and I was reading an article and it actually it was interesting because they said, I never realized he's somebody who he can go by one name. Like Tony Hawk, maybe it's just because Tony is such a common name. You need the Hawk on there to know who he is. Nyjah's Nyjah. And we're gonna explain a little bit about his background to maybe help you understand how he was able to get to one name status. Don't we all want to get there? I mean, I myself, I don't know if I'll ever get there because there's so many Richards. Like I won't just be that's Richard. I mean, maybe. Are there other because you think about it, all the people have common names. They can't get to one word status. You need to be Beyonce. There are probably other Beyoncés, but like not really that many. And I did have this side note before we get to Nyjah, because we're getting there. I'm looking at the screen right now. We're definitely going to get to it. I had a thought. How many Belindas are there in the world? You think it's a lot? Like, what's the over-under? Like, is it a small amount? I said 6 tops, Belindas. Think about it. In your life, how many Belindas? Not Melindas, not whatever other way, not Melissas or anything like that. No, not just Lindas, but Belindas. How many Belindas are there that exist? I don't know. Just add me on Twitter, I guess. But we're going to get into Nyjah. Nyjah Huston is his name, and he is a skateboarder. I would say probably my favorite skateboarder. I've kind of grown up watching him. He's actually a couple years younger than me, but he started so young. So he was born on November the 30th, 1994. And he was actually born on the living room floor because his parents adhered to a very strict Rastafarian lifestyle. And that would actually come to play a large role in his life. I don't think so now, but up until he was probably in his teens. But we'll get to that. So he was born on a floor. His mother had him in their living room in Davis, California, like I said, in '94. And his father, Eddie Yeme Huston, was the main kind of proprietor of this Rastafarian lifestyle. And he ended up having 3 other siblings. I don't think I got their names, but Eddie Yeme's he's a black man, and then his mother. Kel, I think it could be Kelly. It's Kelle, which is just an odd way to spell Kelly, but it's an odd way to spell Kel too. And Kel's not a real name. No offense for people who are named Kel. I'm gonna guess Kelly Huston. She's a white woman, and so they got together, and they actually met in junior high school in California, a place called Merced. They say it's the agricultural center of California. That's cool. She was a cheerleader. He is part black and Japanese. And he was a skateboarder during this time, and this is actually one of the reasons that he would end up having such a large influence on Nyjah is because he had come from a skateboarding background. So when he had a kid, they would just go skateboarding just nonstop. I mean, we'll definitely get into it. This kid, went pro by 11, had his first sponsor at age 7, and he's, I think, 29 now, maybe something like that, 28, give or take. I think he'll be 29 this year. It's spectacular. It's phenomenal. You can't really use words for someone. I'm so proud, like I know him, but I'm just as a person, as a human, to see somebody who goes through as much as someone can go through in childhood and still come out and have a successful adulthood. Because I feel like you see that with child stars. You see that with a lot of people, and I've even heard it's actually different. It's flipped. I've been hearing a lot recently. They say people that had good childhoods are actually more susceptible to having, I wouldn't say bad adulthood, but like they don't. The adversities of life hit them harder than people who were introduced to it at such a young age, which makes a lot of sense. I think for me, I had a great childhood, and it's all relative as to what a great childhood is. But I had, I guess I had a lot. My parents loved me, and it wasn't there. I never really wanted for anything, and so. But I've heard and known people in my life who've had it much differently, and I guess if you're introduced to that at 12 or 15 or 9 or whatever, then your brain kind of just like with muscles, you form that muscle memory for you being able to understand adversity. But I'm getting way off. So we're back in high school with Nyjah's parents. So he's black and Japanese. His mom's a blonde cheerleader. She was said to be smitten by his confidence and daring. All that was sexy. Excuse me, but I think they had. This is saying 5. I thought I read somewhere 4. They had 4 siblings. They had 5 children altogether. Excuse me, let me get it right. This happened every 2 years, like clockwork. I mean, Adeyemi was on it, right? But so Adeyemi Huston instilled in his family, like I said, the Rastafarianism. They really didn't interact with American culture. You know, they were probably one of those. You know, I think he was even homeschooled. He was. He was homeschooled. They didn't really have friends over. You know, it was very like it was them. It was all 7 of them in that house. You know, and the only thing that he really had, the only release that he had was the connection between him and his father and skateboarding. Like I said, he got his first deal, sponsorship deal at age 7, and he made his first X Games at age 11, which is the same year that he went pro. They would actually end up going to Puerto Rico. Let me see what year that was. 2006. They went to Puerto Rico, but before that, because basically Adeyemi took the family and just was like, he was on some, evidently, and I don't know the guy at all. I'm not going to speak about a person that I don't know. But based off the articles, it seems like this guy really just, I don't know, it's hard to really describe because it seems like he loved his son, but I think he himself was somewhat deranged. And that, like I said, that's an opinion. But yeah, that's based off but we're getting, I think, is there anything else I wanted to share from his age? Because he did so much at a young age. You don't want to skip over. His parents actually, before, I think when he was 10, they actually bought an indoor skate park in California. And this dude, so I mean, you're a 10-year-old and your parents own a skate park and your dad's taking you skating every day. And I want to emphasize for people who don't know, if you don't know Nyjah Huston, look up his stuff. Even if you're not into skateboarding, just because he hits, I'm in awe that humans can do what they do, regardless of whether it be on a skateboard or not. I mean, he hits stairs we're talking 15, 20 stairs. You know what I mean? If not more. And he's just, it's like gymnasts. It's like gymnastics in a way. Not, you know what I mean? But it's like the way they move their bodies, man. That's what I've always been about. And maybe it's because of where I'm from. I'm not sure. I mean, I've skateboarded in the past. I have a longboard in my closet right now, but I don't know. I would say even if you don't know this guy, check him out. He's definitely on YouTube everywhere. He is an Olympian. We'll get to that, but because they just made skateboarding an Olympic sport here in the last Olympics. He's an Olympian. He didn't win, and there's a whole article about that. It's a really good article I read. It's really sad because he was supposed to be. It would be almost as if like the same way it would have. I mean, Tony Hawk never had this, but had Tony Hawk gone to the Olympics and didn't win, we'd be like, whoa, like kind of have to gut check. But you know, things happen. But like I said, in 2006, his family moves to Puerto Rico and buys a 26-acre farm, which is basically everything the opposite of skate parks in California. Basically, like he didn't have anywhere to really work. I believe his dad said he was working on building because his dad was skilled at building ramps and stuff, so like that. So it was not impossible. The guy could build him a skate park there too. And I believe he did, but it just never. He was never able to because he was so far away. He was missing out on tournaments, you know, and other possible sponsorship deals and everything. Like he was out of the loop. He would only really go to like, you know, compete, and then that would really be it. But during this time in Puerto Rico, his parents really got into it, and they left, or not they left. She left. They broke up. And there's an interesting documentary on YouTube that talks about this time where he says basically his mom kind of ran away without telling his dad that she was leaving. But because she said something like she took all the other kids and they were going to California to visit, right? Air quotes, visit. But she knew that was going to be her only time to get away from him. And just like, she knew he wasn't going to leave Puerto Rico. So, once she got there, she was like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. But Nyjah knew, we said when he looked at his mom before she left, like they kind of cried and like he knew that like this was her escape. It's very touching. Definitely check that out. I'm not sure what video that was on, but I was like, man, that's wild. Because dude was like 12. You know what I mean? Like it's. But yeah, so she comes back to America. They get divorced. Nyjah ends up coming back as well, And it's actually there's also another good story. This guy he has a really good story, and this is just a bite-sized bio, so I'm not going to give you the whole thing. But when I tell you this man is worth, he'll definitely have a movie at some point. Like, he's just an interesting figure. But he came back from Puerto Rico, basically left his dad as well, and they didn't really have that much money at all, because she was, his mom was trying to raise 5 kids, and she purchased, what does it say here? Let me see. Oh, yeah, she purchased flights for Nyjah, and I think this is actually on his website too as well. She purchased flights for Nyjah to go to the first ever Street League skateboarding, which you may not know, but it was Rob Dyrdek's. I think it's still going. Rob Dyrdek's skateboarding league. It was really cool. But this is when it was first happening. The first ever one was happening in Arizona, and after she did that, she had less than $100 to her name, right? So like, everybody's broke. Like, you have 5 kids. Your kid's a pro skateboarder, but he's not making any money. He's probably like 14 or 15. I forget the exact year. He actually wins first place, which is $150,000. And from then forward, they just righted the ship, and he just kept winning. Dude is I think the most winningest skateboarder in the history of skateboarding. I'm pretty sure. I can definitely run down he got some serious stats. This dude's won all the X Games. Like I said, he was an Olympian, but he didn't win. There was an American that won bronze, but he didn't win. He got some trouble really out there. But I watched that heat. Watched all his heats. They were good. He won the 2011 X Games, 13, 14, 15, 16. You just out here all for street skating. World championships that he's won. His most recent is 2020. He's a very decorated skater. And I think a fact about him, which then we'll go ahead and get out of here, is that he was the youngest ever. I don't know if this is still true, but at the time he was the youngest ever X Games competitor at the age of 11 when he first did it. But yeah, that's Nyjah Huston, man. All right, that was another episode of Bite Size Bios. We learned a lot about Nyjah Huston. I hope if you hadn't heard of him already, you go check him out. Like I said, this guy he's an athlete in every sense of the word, and it's really cool that they brought skateboarding to the Olympics. I find that to be a great evolution in the world. I think we need more stuff like that. I hope they don't do stuff like those other. So there's some other odd sports they show on ESPN too sometimes that I'm just like, what are we doing? But yeah, Nyjah is awesome. Like I said, 15, 20 stairs and then hitting the rails. That's not to get into skateboarding. I know not everybody's into that sort of thing, but yeah, I hope you guys liked it. As always, check out HTT Happen on all the different socials that it's available on. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, HTTHappen.com gets you our website where you find all the extras. We're excited and all that good stuff. If you're still listening this far, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe wherever you're finding this. 5 stars if you are, just loving what you're hearing. 2 stars if you don't. Tell us why you don't love it. Would love to know that as well. As always, thank you for pressing play, everybody that does. And we'll see you in a couple days with the next How Did That Happen?
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.